Kamantian. I'm a teacher. I teach all grades from grade 2, grades 4 through 9. And I teach science predominantly. I also teach one health class to grade 2. And then sometimes, if I have free time, sometimes I help at the clinic also, taking vitals and just learning. I mostly learn. I learned about this project through AFM. I was interested in doing a mission year, and I wanted to go somewhere remote. And so when I was researching the different AFM projects, I found this project, and I was watching the YouTube videos about the school and the clinic, and I was really inspired by the work that was being done here, especially at the clinic. And I really have a passion for medical missionary work, and I really wanted to learn more, and I wanted to grow as a medical missionary, and I thought that coming here would be a really great opportunity to do that. And so when I applied to the project here, I applied for health educator, like nurse, even though I'm not a nurse. I knew I could do things like vitals, and I could learn, and I could help in some small way. That's what inspired me to come to this project, was the medical help, the medical aid that they were providing to the people here in Kamantian. So there's definitely a large need in this mountain in Kamantian for the medical side of things, because every day we see people coming to the clinic with different various illnesses. Even if it's just a headache or stomach ache, we help them, giving them charcoal and ministering to them in whatever way we can. Sometimes we see larger scale things, like we have women who, pregnant women giving birth here. A lot of them do a more natural, like home birth, but the clinic has been a huge blessing, especially for pregnant women. I have seen in my time here, because there was one example of a pregnant woman who, after she gave birth, there was hemorrhagic bleeding, and we had 2 doctors here, and they really tried their best to get the situation under control, but she wouldn't stop bleeding, and so they had to hike her out immediately to go to Napan. And so we have emergency cases like this, and the medical care here really helps these people with emergencies and just little things. The school helps the people here. It educates them about various things. The students here learn Tagalog, they learn English, they learn about health and science, they learn music and art, tons of things, math. You know what you would get in a typical school anywhere else, the students have that here. I think what's greater than what they receive instruction-wise is the love that they receive from the instructors, from the teachers, because it's a Christian school that we have here. And so our goal is not just to teach them in the classroom, but it's to share the love of Jesus with them and implement in some way Bible truths into the lessons that we teach them in the classroom. So turning a science lesson into a Bible study. So I studied at Southern. It was 2 years ago. The year 2021 to 2022, I was at Southern, and I was studying pre-nutrition there. And during my year there, I made a lot of really good friends. A lot of them were in the SALT program at Southern. And so after my first year at Southern, I decided to come back for a 3rd semester and take the SALT program. And what that program does is teach students and equip them to be evangelists, pretty much, and be missionaries wherever they're at in the world, whether it's in the foreign mission field or if it's at home with family. And the SALT program really was a huge blessing for me in training me and preparing me to come here and be a missionary here in Kamantian. And I wouldn't have found the SALT program anywhere else but at Southern. And so not just the SALT program, but Southern University also really helped me prepare for the mission field because of the spiritual atmosphere that it provides, the instructors, and just the spiritual environment. You know, I found a really good friend group at Southern, And we were able to grow together in the Lord. We would go to Vespers together, Convocation together. We would talk about the things we were learning at Southern and in our classes, and how, turn them into spiritual lessons and applications. So I received a really good education at Southern. A lot of the things that I learned in anatomy and physiology and my nutrition class and microbiology, I remember when I'm here and I'm helping at the clinic. Sometimes, I learned that in class, and now I can see it here. That's been really neat, and just the everyday life living at Southern really prepares you. So an average day, what it looks like for me is wake up either between 5 and 6, because life starts really early here, and we cook breakfast, and we eat breakfast together, me and my housemates, and we have to be done by 7:30, because at 7:30 we have team worship together in the office. And after that, I just prepare for my classes, any last minute, like tying up loose ends and lesson planning. And then my first class is at 11, and I teach until lunchtime at 12 at noon. And then I get only 30 minutes to eat lunch and, try to chew my food thoroughly. And then I have another class at 12:30, and then I have another class immediately after that. I teach grade 4. And then after I teach these 3 consecutive classes, I get an hour break where I prepare for my last class of the day, which is probably my favorite class, which is my grade 9 class, my high schoolers. I teach them physical science, and they're really great students. I love teaching them. That's what an average day looks like for me. And then afterwards, after my classes are done, maybe I just prepare for the next day. So I've been here since August. I arrived in the Philippines August 22nd. And so now it's almost been 8 months at this point. And I'm leaving next month, actually, so I'm only gonna been here for 9 months. And life here in these 8 months has been quite different from what I'm used to back in the United States. Lots of little differences, a lot of big differences. So some of the little differences would be things like getting used to taking my shoes off every single time I go into the house or into the school or to the anywhere, the church. You don't wear shoes inside, and even if the floor is just a bamboo floor. And it's not so much a challenge for me anymore. I'm kind of used to it now. But when I first got here, it was like, there were a couple times I would walk into my house with my shoes on, and then I would remember, I can't do this. And so even at our house, I don't live with Filipinos. I don't live with the natives here, but we still take our shoes off before we go into our house. Just it's a cultural thing. We're living here, so the food is another difference. This one's a little bit of a larger difference than the shoes. Every day we eat rice every day, and back home I would eat rice, but just like on occasion, maybe a couple times a month. Here we eat it every day, breakfast and lunch. Every single day we eat rice, and I don't mind it. I like rice, but it's different. I'm not used to eating so much rice. We cook on a propane tank, and it usually lasts us about a month. I live with 3 other girls, and we do a lot of cooking, so it runs out pretty quickly. And when it runs out, we have to order another propane tank, and it takes a while for it to come in, and so we have to cook on fire in the meantime. Like, we have to go find wood, and we have to make a fire and cook our food, and we have to get up even earlier than 5 if we want to have good devotion and time in prayer, make a fire, cook over the fire. The first time I cooked over a fire, it took me an hour just to light the fire, and then probably another hour or so for the food to cook. And I was so scared the first time I cooked on a fire, because I was living in a different house, and we had an outdoor stove, and it was just an extension to the house. It was right next to the house, which is made of bamboo, and it had like a straw cover. And so I was thinking, wow, this is a little bit too close to our bamboo house for comfort. Our house is gonna burn down, but it didn't. And so that was my experience the first time I cooked over fire. Now it doesn't take me as long to light the fire to cook. It's a lot easier now, I'm used to it. So despite all the challenges and the difficulties, especially with the language learning, it's really difficult. I've been encouraged by the Lord and His promises to me, and through the writings of Mrs. White about true education, not being that classroom instruction, not even being the ability to communicate with somebody effectively using your words, but through love, and how love is this universal language that I know my students can understand regardless if they really understand my words. And that has been a real comfort to me here despite all the challenges, because I know that my time here isn't wasted even if I didn't meet others' expectations, or even if I didn't meet my own expectations. I'm here because God called me to be here, and I'm obeying Him, and I'm where He wants me to be, and I know that He'll supply all my needs, even my language needs. So that has been really encouraging for me. I think the top motivation for why I'm here is the love of God. Yeah. So Paul says in Corinthians that it's the love of Christ that compels us. And I remember being at Southern and going to see the different mission spotlights, and at church seeing different mission spotlights, and it always really struck a chord in my heart. It was, wow, like these people really love God, and they've left their friends, they've left their families, they've faced dangerous situations to share this love of God with people that they don't know anything about, they've never met. And like, what amazing love is that, to compel somebody to leave everything they're comfortable with and to die to self, to count the cost and follow God where He leads. And so that's the primary motivation. So something really interesting about the culture here is also very different from back home in the United States is when you want to visit somebody. So back home in the United States, usually you don't just wake up one day and think, oh, I would like to visit so-and-so, and then just show up at their house. Usually, you make plans, you contact them beforehand, so you can organize things. Here, you just go to somebody's house and ask if there's anybody there, and if there's somebody there, they just invite you in, and you just visit them, and they're very hospitable. They'll feed you. They give you things when you leave. So many times they just give us bananas or other things just for visiting them unannounced. And that was something that really struck me when I first got here, because I was like, wow, the United States is not like that at all. So they're much more friendly here, much more hospitable. I think that's one thing that is a cultural difference here that has really made an impression on me. I think when I go back to the United States, I'll probably be a little bit more hospitable, inviting people over to eat more, just spend time together more. And it's a very biblical principle. My dream for my students is that they would become missionaries themselves, whether they stay here in Kemantian and serve their people here, or if they graduate and get a higher education and go somewhere else in the Philippines or somewhere else in the world. That's my dream for them, is that they can have good relationships with the Lord and grow to love Him more and have a true desire in their hearts to serve Him, to experience the love of Christ that compels them to serve others. Yeah, to see discipleship here in Kemantian is my dream for the people.